Your hydraulic disc brake calipers, should you rebuild them or just buy new? Today I'm going to show you, and we're going to discuss the pros and cons of each. So here we have a hydraulic disc brake caliper that has about 328,000 miles on it, and it's never had a service. I figured it's getting up there, might as well do a service on it, and rather than replace it, I have decided just to buy a seal kit and reseal it. This one's just slow. If you peel back the little dust boot, you know, during brake changes, you can see just a little bit of fluid leaking. So it's just leaking a little bit. But you don't always want to rebuild these because sometimes they're too far gone. So I thought we would discuss that. One of the very first things is if it's just pouring fluid, there's a good chance that it is pitted. And we're going to get in there. And also, if it is so rusted that you can't remove any of your fasteners, probably something you don't want to do either. First thing I'm going to do is actually check the bleeder screw. I'm going to use a 6-point socket, and I'm just going to crack it free, and it cracked free nice. If that snaps off in there, if you can't, before you move any further, if you can't get that bleeder screw out, just scrap it, go buy a new one. But sometimes these aren't that cheap either. You know, I bought this seal kit for about, it was a little under $3. They're around $3 to $5 at auto parts stores, usually places like Napa, or sometimes you can find them on Amazon, stuff like that. But we're going to actually pop out the piston and take a look at it and see if it's worth rebuilding. I'm going to snap off the retaining ring for my boot right now. So this style just uses a little retaining ring. Sometimes it just fits into a groove. I just have a little spring clamp. And you can see one of the reasons I'm doing it is because I'm getting just a little bit of fluid weeping past. You know, that many miles kind of be expected. But now we're going to extract the piston. And the easiest way to do that is with compressed air. If you want, turn your air compressor way down to 20 psi, 10 psi or something. But we're just going to take a rubber tipped nozzle and I'm just going to press on it just really lightly. I'm going to make sure the piston's facing away from me. And there we go. And once you get it out a fair way, usually you can just pull it right out. Okay? Now right here, this really is a no more work. If you were going to replace your caliper anyway, this is the final determining factor of whether you should go buy a new caliper or just rebuild it. And that is this, your piston. Look at it. If it is not pitted, just rebuild it. It's just one O-ring essentially. One square cut O-ring is all that makes these work. That's not pitting, that's a little staining. This thing is beautiful. No pitting, no nothing. This is perfect for a, if this went back to Taiwan or China in the big freight container to be rebuilt, they would pull this apart. They would do this exact same thing. Say, stupid Americans, take that, put the O-ring in, put it back together, sandblast it, paint it, and be done. And that's all we're going to do right now. So this is a great time with that many miles on the car. The brake fluid, sometimes you get water, and that's kind of what I have here. It looks like a water and a brake fluid kind of mix. It kind of settles out at the bottom. You know, you got your bleeder screw at the top, but down here, this almost goes to the back, but just a little bit sits back there. So now, it's just a matter of just cleaning this whole thing up. If this was a, you can buy the piston as well. If you got a super expensive one, you can buy the piston as well. Sometimes you have a little pitting in here, but this doesn't really matter because that's really not a surface. You have an O-ring, but this is the sealing surface against here. You can kind of scuff it up if you cannot find your piston. I'm assuming you could have this machined. Somebody can machine this for you. I'm assuming a lot of these are universal sizes. Or if you have a really rare one, which maybe you could. I have heard of people successfully, you know, if you have pitting or something, sanding it down and JB welding and then smoothing it out nicely, letting it cure, and it's enough to create a good sealing surface. Now it's just cleaning it up and we'll go from there. So a rebuild kit generally consists of a dust boot right here. This particular one just happens to have a retaining ring for the dust boot, and then in here we just have a square cut washer, O-ring, I guess. That's simple. This just pulls out, and I'll clean out the little groove in there, and we'll just put the new one in. Simple. Now this whole process takes about 5 to 10 minutes over, you know, what it would be just to replace an entire caliper. So I've got this all as clean as I can. Feel no grit, no nothing, anything. We'll take the new seal, and it just goes in this groove. Pretty elastic. Not hard at all. Just make sure I got it in the groove. Looks like I do. Flip it up. Yep. Okay. Now we have our new seal right here, and that just, I mean, it's just a square groove in here. I'm not going to pre-soak this in brake fluid. A couple reasons is I don't want to force brake fluid on the outside if I don't need to, and it's a rubber seal. Brake fluid's not going to penetrate it, so there's no reason to sit there and soak it in it. Now we'll take some brake fluid, and I'm just kind of just putting enough there so the seal's not dry. And we'll just do just a little bit on the outside of the piston, just right where it starts, because that seal will squeegee it up, so we don't want to put a ton on there. And then it's just a matter of trying to evenly force this in. There we go. Now I'll just take my seal, goes around my outside edge, flip the whole thing up. There we go. Seal's on. Retaining ring. Right around the outside. Actually, don't punch her. My new dust boot. It's really not that. It just keeps out dust and I guess moisture from getting in there and kind of rusting the seal from the other side. There we go. Completely rebuilt. 5 minutes. $2 and I think I paid $2.32 for each side versus, you know, 50 bucks. Some of these are, I've seen calipers as high as $200. So you can rebuild, you can save yourself $400 if they're 200 bucks a piece doing this, and you can buy yourself a couple brand new tools. So it's up to you. Now it's just a matter of bleeding the brakes like you would have to anyway. We'll install the bleeder screw back in, and we'll go reattach the brake lines and stuff like that. But that's it. You can paint it pink so everybody knows you have fast stopping brakes. Obviously, if your brake calipers are only 30 bucks and your thing looks like something that came off the bottom of the ocean and your guide pins and everything don't slide, yeah, probably just go get a new one. But if it doesn't look that bad, you can just pop that piston out. Think you can rebuild it, go buy yourself a $5 kit and be done with it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you soon. Bye. See this? Jump. Oh, good job. Hey, jump through it again. Now jump to the big one. Come here. Come on. Ginger, come here. Sit. Stay. Stay. Jump. Oh, good job.